Due to survivorship bias, we only hear about the success stories of people who've risked it all to achieve their goals. What's your story of how you did the same, but failed? I used to draw Pokemon on adhesive paper to make stickers in elementary school. Kids would buy them from me and put them on their book totes. I used all the money I made to buy more paper and markers. Turns out I had saturated the market, and demand for Pokemon stickers reached zero. The venture was a net loss in the end. I started my own company remodeling bars and restaurants. Did all the design work and construction myself. Applied for permits, and did all the paperwork too. Hired the trades when needed. I would scout locations and come up with a business plan for the bar, do the interior design, remodel, logo, etc., everything. And would hand over a turnkey establishment. I'd even hire and train the staff in a few cases. Anyway, a large interior design build contractor in the area got fed up with me once I started gaining serious traction and hiring more employees. They petitioned the city government in the 4 cities I did work to require a P stamp on any remodels over a certain amount. I was a fresh civil engineering grad and couldn't get my P license for a few more years. Shut my business down overnight. Working for a large construction company now, making about half what I did before and hating every minute of it. Planning on going back for my MBA soon though. I've got another pretty good idea but need a bit more knowledge about the business world. A much larger business took the time and effort to step on you. That's not failure, that's stymied success. Edit, my first Reddit silver. Thank you. 4 rounds of IVF, plus a 5th using limited anesthesia, which we opted for because it was free, only to experience the miscarriage of our one chance at a biological child. No one posts and shares about the dead-end failures when it comes to infertility. That's a punch right in the heart. I'm so sorry. When I finished grad school, my friend and I attempted to turn a side project into a full-fledged business. It failed horribly and I ended up without an income for 6 months, when my husband could definitely not afford to support us and our young child. It was super embarrassing and humbling, but I don't regret it for a second. Oddly, the most impactful part of the experience was designing our website, which made me realize I love UX and web design. So even though it was completely unrelated to the business and my degree, that's what I came out of the experience with. It's been almost 5 years of working towards a career in that field, and I start a position next month where I'll be overseeing UX for a website with over 60 million visitors a year, so you never know where failure can lead. That level of learning from your failure can just be considered an extended semester of grad school, really. Same price, and I'm sure you learned a lot more than previous semesters. Not me, but my dad. Amazing pianist and worked selling high-end pianos for a number of years before deciding he wanted to own his own store instead of living on commission and funding someone else's life. Rounded up a couple friends to go into business with, had almost no capital of his own, so he took out several government loans, borrowed money wherever he could, friends, his kids, distant relatives, etc. He refinanced the house, cut all his insurance policies, used inheritance money from a trust fund that my siblings and I were supposed to get from my grandmother passing, literally put everything into this business from any source he could. So the store stays afloat for a couple years but ultimately fails for several reasons. My mom goes crazy from all the stress and my parents' divorce. Likely would have happened anyway, but this was a final straw type scenario. Dad ends up losing everything and is over $500,000 in debt at this point. He's forced to go back to selling for the guy who took over his franchise, had to declare bankruptcy so his credit is shot, and will likely not be able to retire. Admire the risk, but the whole ordeal really messed up his and a lot of other people's lives. Nobody blames him or anything, it's really just a shame it went the way it did. When I was 17, I decided to chase my dream of becoming a game developer. I looked for colleges, universities that offered programs that taught development, looked at testimonies and what the courses actually taught, and decided on one. I had no support from my parents, so I ended up taking 2 separate loans for a total of $50,000 to help pay for my tuition and boarding, since it was in a tower a few hours away from where I was living. The course was amazing and taught me so much. I worked my ass off, sometimes staying 3+ days in the lab working on projects and tutoring my classmates. I also starved myself cause money was getting tight. Some days all I had to eat was 2 pieces of white bread, with some butter I would steal from a roommate. I felt bad, but I also did all the cleaning, so it kinda balanced out. I even took on some extra projects to help get my name out there, and was even in the local and school papers. Our program was getting popular. Student interviews were pretty easy to get if you put yourself out there. Third year rolled around and I didn't slow down. I took leadership on our year-long team assignment. I also did a lot more than I wrote I did, because I didn't like the pace my team wanted to work at. I ended up graduating top 3 of my graduating class. I had honor roll each year and made the dean list the first year, but that's where the good stuff ends. Coming out of school, I had a few opportunities. 2 from studios in a big city that offered me unpaid internships. I had to turn those down because they were full-time internships that I would be working 40-plus hour weeks unpaid in one of the most expensive places to live in my country. At this point, I was $50,000 in department, and just couldn't dive deeper into that hole. The other offer I had was for a startup studio that was just getting started. There was no guarantee of any pay, and I would still have to relocate for the position. So I ended up moving back home and trying some online gigs that lead nowhere. The year after graduating, I was gonna kill myself. Hated my life, struggling with debt, working 2 jobs I just fucking hated. Met a girl who ended up cheating on me for months without me knowing. My life was just heading nowhere, so I just wanted to quit. Fast forward to current year, I ended up meeting a girl who has just been amazing for me. Ended up finding a job I love working at, but barely pays the bills. I have a lot of free time now, and bills are getting paid, so I decided to work on a solo project, hoping to release it 2019. So my story isn't over yet, but definitely had to catch a rebound. Played poker and traded stock options. Quit my desk job at 23. The stress of thinking that I had to keep making a certain amount of money to justify not working a job got to me. I started losing almost immediately. Ended up taking bigger and bigger risks, losing it all within 9 months. I've been struggling with my vices and getting back into the workforce for the past 3 years. Mostly my own fault that I'm not employed now. I struggle with ennui. I see my own mortality and struggle to justify to myself that anything matters at all. Getting a 9 to 5, settling down, finding a girl, married, house, kids, support network to bounce back from these types of things. I've gone through stress, gambling, alcoholism, stomach problems, sleep problems, hemorrhoids. They're all interrelated. I moved country to be with a man thinking we had it perfect. I was gonna get a job, a new life away from my old bad routines and live happily ever after. First, I had a mental breakdown due to my PTSD because guess what? Old bad routines was me slowly driving myself into the ground in denial. But we were happy. I was in recovery. I was looking for work and taking jobs where I could find them. Then my partner realized he suffered from depression, and it finally got so bad he dumped me because while we loved each other a lot, we weren't partners anymore, and he realized I'd never leave him, so he left me. I never got a proper job, bouncing from service industry to service industry, and finally my position in the UK was too tenuous due to Brexit. I left to go home. I am living in my sister's spare room. I'm back at uni trying to get myself to a position where I can get a better job, semi-dating a nice man but taking it slow. I am watching her spend her first Christmas as a married woman while I cry in my room some nights and trying to piece together acceptance that I failed. You're fixated on what you perceive to be your failures, but all I see is an interesting person who's loved, seen some of the world, never let hardship get the best of them, and is working hard every day to be exactly the person you intend to be. You're pretty incredible. My father convinced me to drop everything and move home to take over the family farm. In less than a year, my brother is suddenly the one taking over the farm, and my job is to be put down and yelled at while my brother spends foolishly, makes little effort to bring money into the operation, and splits his time between calling me a piece of shit and disappearing for months at a time. Ironically, I had to take on several side projects to keep my family fed, all of which seem to be taking off financially while the farm gets worse and worse. Sell the farm and tell your brother to get fucked. My father still owns everything, and my brother gets violent if I stand up for myself. We have an agreement worked out now, so I get to keep my house on the farm but don't have to put up with him anymore. I just try my hardest to politely ignore him and not cause drama for my mother's sake, and I've decided not to try and scavenge a relationship for my family's safety. Most of these stories here are financial risk. In my case, I risked something else: my health. I started a career in acrobatics, But it was fairly late when I did. I was already, I think, early 20s. I was in shape thanks to martial arts before, but acrobatics is more demanding on the body. So I studied, did a couple of amateur semi-pro shows, got paid for them too. But as I grew older, my body was starting to fail me due to multiple injuries. I decided to keep pushing, keep learning, and eventually become a full-fledged pro. It was a gamble that I lost. At some point about 3 years ago, I was hurting so bad everywhere. I had been told that some of my injuries would last for my whole life. It was painful enough that I couldn't even walk anymore, let alone lifting my partner. I also did hand-to-hand, aka acrobatic duo, and I was the porter. So at age 27 I decided I needed to stop because my body couldn't take it anymore. Had to have a career change, start over. Today, I'm still hurting, though not as much, thankfully, and I miss acrobatics almost every day. Quitting left me depressed, and I'm only now starting to heal mentally, and hopefully, now at almost 30, I will figure out what to do with my life. Probably go to college. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.